States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We either need approval or revision of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Mrs. Petter?
Mr. Simons?
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Kessler?
Yes.
Mrs. Weider?
Yes, thank you. Motion passes. We have two visitors who have signed in to speak. First is Robert Webbing. I hope I said it right. And there's a microphone right there.
Well, thank you for the time. I just wanted to come in relation to the book fair books that have been pulled this year. I understand that it seems to be moving more to an opt-out situation for future years, and we wanted to express our appreciation for that. It's important for us, for my wife and I, for our kids to have access to those books as options to buy, those types of books. They're on the older, my kids are a little bit older now. But also that it's just important that it become an opt-out rather than opt-in, where they have to shop with parents, because as parents we're not always able to make things like parent-teacher conferences. Unfortunately for us, it's pretty common for us not to. Last year we were 8,000 miles away from our kids during the first parent-teacher conferences, so therefore having our kids have the option to just buy them, those sorts of books, without us being there to hold their hands, that is very important for us, and so we certainly appreciate moving towards that as a model. I just wanted to express our support for that. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Maria O'Brien.
Thank you very much. I apologize for the mask. I had a kidney transplant, so I hope everything's clear. But I also wanted to express gratitude. I got a phone call from Mrs. Wright, I believe, this afternoon, detailing some of the decisions that were made to deal with the books that were removed, and how that would be handled going forward. It's important to me. I had a whole speech I won't go into, but it's important to me that some of these voices not be silenced just because they're separated and they're already deemed dangerous or inappropriate. Parents depend upon their school system a lot of times to make guiding recommendations. And when books are already separated, they don't have the time. They're exhausted to go through and go through the books themselves. They just bypass them altogether. And a lot of voices and wonderful stories get lost. And I don't want that for the Princeton district. I worked here, I graduated from here, my parents worked here, my brothers graduated from here. We have been loyal Vikings for a long time. So, in going forward with the decision that you've made that the books not be separated, but parents still have their choice to buy them online, to only buy them when they can be with their children, seems like an equitable solution. And I want to make sure that you're, you know that we're grateful for that too. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is the proclamation for National School Bus Safety Week.
Mr. Fricky, will you come up, please?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm going to read the National School Bus Safety Week proclamation. Whereas the members of the Princeton Board of Education wish to proclaim the week of October 16th through the 22nd, 2023 as National School Bus Safety Week in Princeton City School District. And whereas school bus safety is an American tradition, and whereas we are proud of the drivers who put safety first, and whereas we recognize that community knowledge and support is needed in our effort to provide safe transport of students, and whereas we know that safety depends partly on the continued education of partners, community, and students on safety needs, and whereas our nation is celebrating the week of October 16th through the 20th, 2023, is National School Bus Safety Week, with the theme, Safely Rolling to My Destination. Now therefore be it resolved that the Princeton Board of Education does proclaim the week of October 16th through the 20th, 2023, as National School Bus Safety Week in the Princeton City School District, and encourages the observance of this special time by the cities and villages, as well as the parents and residents of the school district to support the safety of our children. This resolution was passed this 9th day of October in the year 2023. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, Mrs. Petter?
Mrs. Cleveland?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Kessler?
Yes.
Mrs. Weider?
Yes.
Mr. Simons?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next is district business. The first topic is approval of the September 2023 financial report.
I move.
Go ahead,
No,
Tim.
no, you
No,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No.
Move that we approve the September 2023 financial report.
The second.
It has been moved and seconded. Mrs. Petter?
On your monthly financial report, again, we're rolling one quarter down in our fiscal year. Just as usual, just the timing issues that we all typically discuss when it comes around revenue for property taxes. This year, Hamilton County settled in September. Typically, they've been settling in August, so it looks like we're up 2.5 million, but that's actually just, we are up 2.5 million September last year. We received that money in August. On a whole, we're just seeing a little bit of a less amount of revenue in this first quarter when it comes to taxes, but that too is caused by timing, and that is our homestead and rollback dollars from Hamilton County. So since the taxes arrived late, the homestead and rollback will also be a little late. We should see those this month in October, and then we'll have full collection of all our property taxes from all three counties, and the homestead and rollback too. I want to let you know about a couple things also. If you look at the cash flow and some of the variances, the revenue in lieu of taxes, again, that's running a little bit behind because the settlements were behind, and our entities that are in TIF agreements with us received their money late, so we're settling up. I'm already talking to several of the communities, and those payments are coming in. Interest revenue has been running high. I have new numbers that we'll have for the forecast, and we'll review those at the end of the month. Don't want anyone to get too worried on the expense side either, because salary and benefits, of course, this is September. It's the first full month where we have everyone's new negotiated increases in. So we, of course, see a little blip up since the majority of our staff does start getting their first pay in September. All these school year people, first pay is September 5th, and so this is the first month where we see that full amount. The other increases in that area, remember, we have moved the supplanted ESSER positions back from the ESSER funding. So we had 2 years where we moved general fund expense into the ESSER funds. Those are back this year. So we're, of course, seeing that little bit of a blip up in salary and benefits. Then we also had the added positions that we moved early into the ESSER fund this year. Okay, so that was those about 10 administrative non-bargaining positions. So that's why you're going to see that little bit of increase in this September over last September. But those were planned for, and those are in the forecast, so. And that's all I have on that. The other thing is, this is the final, absolute final time you will see ESSER 2 on this report. So this was the report we started, 2.5 years ago when we started receiving all that ESSER funding to manage that so the board could see how we're spending those dollars down. So we closed out ESSER 2 funding. Final expenditure reports were submitted by the end of September. So from this point forward, you'll see one grant on here. That's the ARP ESSER or ESSER 3, the final pandemic funding. And that is the September financial report.
Okay. Do you want to call the roll? Do we need to vote?
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Kessler,
Yes.
Mrs. Wider,
Yes.
Mr. Simons,
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. Next is approval of maintenance agreement with Elite Air. I hope I said that correctly.
I move to approve the maintenance agreement with Elite Air as presented.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Mrs. Petter?
Mrs. Kessler,
Yes.
Mrs. Wider,
Yes.
Mr. Simons,
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. Next is approval of resolution for Windows Security Film Project.
I move to approve the Princeton window resolution security film as presented.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Mrs. Petter?
Mrs. Wider,
Yes.
Mr. Simons,
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Kessler.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. Next is approval of resolution for the VMS and the PA systems upgrade project.
I move to approve the request for a resolution for the VMS and PA systems upgrade project as presented.
Second.
It has been, go ahead.
Can somebody give us a brief on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think the information I have here is we have some cameras and video things. They need upgrade just so our kids are secure and we can see what's going on in some of the buildings. So, I think that's a necessity. We know how important safety is. And we need to make sure we have the right equipment to keep everybody safe.
Okay. Go ahead.
And this
Mr.
was put out for
Simons?
bid, correct? This was put out for bid, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so it's the lowest, okay, responsible bidder.
Yes.
Okay.
Keyword responsible.
Mr. Simons,
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Kessler,
Yes.
Mrs. Wider.
Yes. Thank you. Motion passes. Next is approval of agreement with Hamilton County Jobs and Family Services.
I move to approve the agreement with Hamilton County Job and Family Services as presented.
Second. You want to go into what this is?
Yeah, I believe, as we know how important workforce development is, and this will help with that workforce development. Career navigation, case management as well. So the state really is making workforce development important, and we want to keep that going. And we've done a good job here in my time here and even before that. So we want to make sure we continue that. And it's good for our young people.
Is this something that would reflect on the report card?
I'm sorry.
Is this something that would be I know they're gonna look at how they're gonna do the report cards with college, career, and readiness. Is this something that would help on that front?
I'm not sure directly on the report card. Anybody want to help me with that? Yes. You can.
Good evening. Unfortunately, this would not help on our state report card. it is just really for opportunities for students to get involved in and have work experiences. So like the internships that our students did with Tanya Key this summer, there would be more opportunities for that and hands-on work experience, but it won't really help us with the report card. But some of our students that may want to be early grads, we're really looking at how we can connect them with careers. Our students at the Innovation Center that had Workforce Wednesdays, they want to build on that. So that is what this grant is going to give us the opportunity to continue to do.
Thank you.
Tanya, is there a cost to the district?
A very minor cost to the district.
But I would say that the importance of it, the cost, there's a little cost, but the importance of it is good for our kids to have access to career and things of that nature. If you were able to see this summer, the internship program and the things the kids were doing, they helped shoot the Viking Voices, they were doing things at the convocation, the business breakfast, and going out and seeing business. I think that's very beneficial for our kids, especially where people are pushing where while college is very important, some kids want to go work for us and do some other things, and that's important for them. This gives them opportunities.
I just have one more question. So would this start like right now? I mean,
Well, yeah,
we would
it's
move
kind of
forward
been
on it.
going on. I don't know when this grant actually starts, but we've been doing the work. So
Okay.
you have something?
Mr. Zendri wanted me to share that it'll be a cost of $50,000 over 2 years, but we also get the cost of one of our programs, which is for workforce is Beable. And I think I'm forgetting one thing he told me. And they're paying rent to be at 25 West Sharon. So that is how we're reducing costs and making sure that we keep the programming.
Anything else? Mrs. Petter?
Mrs. Cleveland?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Kessler?
Yes.
Mrs. Wyder?
Yes.
Mr. Simons?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. Next is the first reading of board policy updates.
And that is just for you to read and look over the first draft. There'll be another one coming in the future meetings.
Any comments or questions? No. Okay, then treasurer's report.
Typically, we would have brought our new medical rates to the board and dental rates at this time. Our benefit committee met last month. The increase was over the 7.5% required by the negotiated agreements. Our consultant had a couple good ideas that we thought would not require plan benefit changes. So we had stop loss come in lower than anticipated. And we had another savings from Optum Pharmacy. So we are at 7.43, I believe. The benefits committee meeting is Wednesday. They'll be asked to approve that. Then we'll bring it back to the board at the last meeting in October. And we roll with open enrollment November 1. So medical costs are increasing. I think we're pretty lucky getting in without any plan changes, really, and we'll hope that things hold, but the medical costs are increasing, as we all know, and we may have to look at plan changes in the future, so to stay under that 7.5% that's required. The other thing is I have had a couple great webinars with our forecasting software company concerning House Bill 187 and Senate Bill 153, and these are two bills that they're discussing to help save people tax dollars because of increase in valuations. It's a really big issue. I'm putting together an email tonight that I'll shoot out to each of you. I'll give you some contact information for legislators. I think the big concern that we need to ask them is to hold off, not make a decision immediately until all the repercussions can be vetted. Some of the things, it's not a direct impact to us because we're not at the 20 mil floor. So districts that are at the 20 mil floor see huge growth. in their revenue. We don't see that. We get what is voted and any new construction. So we'll see some growth, but some districts are seeing enormous growth. And their taxpayers will see an enormous increase in their taxes. So I'll give you a few bullet points, but I think the big ask to our senators and our House of Representative members is that we not do anything too quickly. There will be impacts depending on what they do to school funding formula, because if they decide to do an average valuation change, that will impact school funding formula, which has valuations embedded in it. And if they try to change tax rates, that could have a long-term effect on a lot of different areas. And the people that are really trying to dig into these changes just don't have enough time, nor do they have all the information yet that might be included in one of these bills. So I'll put some points together, and then we'll just ask you to each reach out. I think it's very important that we all just shoot emails to everyone and just asking for time and consideration to make sure there are no unforeseen consequences. And quick law seems to do that all the time. But for Princeton specifically, the 20 mil floor issue is not an issue for us. I do have to tell you that I have increases, but they're fairly conservative. You know, we'll see in Hamilton County a giant number typically, but the Princeton area is typically a little under that. So the numbers that I have are estimates so far. They were not state approved at that point. So we're seeing a tiny bit of growth, nothing like the 20 mil floors. I will tell you that because the valuations are increasing so much, the 20 mil floor, if that stays in place, could be in our 5-7 year future, which never would I have guessed that when I first started working at Princeton. We were so far above the floor. I looked at that today and I thought, I've got to talk to bond counsel and see what the impact of this could be, you know, in 5-7 years to the district. It changes levy philosophy. So that's something we have to watch. Again, this 3-year average that I think maybe the Senate and the House are both looking at is a temporary fix. And that's, that would just, in essence, kick the can. Because 3 years from now, we're going to have probably valuations that are still up here. And if we level them off here, we still have a growth to catch up.
Sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
So Elgin, I know, was at a Bassin meeting conference, and they discussed it. We all put together some data. The forecasting group we use, Frontline, immediately reacts to things like that. I've had 2 webinars since your conference.
Since my meeting.
And one's coming on Friday when they hope they have yet even more information that we can once again reach out and communicate impact to all our different school districts, because we're all different.
So what is the status of the school funding formula? I mean, is there a timetable as to when that formula?
We are in year 3 of 6, and 3 and 4 have made it through the biennial budget. So we have one more biennial budget to push that through. Okay. And we'll have a fully, if it's passed as planned, fully funded school formula.
Good. And is there some jurisdictional, geographical issue going on? Because Perry County, they were one of the first to sue over the tax issue. But I don't know if they're going to benefit more than this part of the state.
There are 392 districts on the floor.
Okay, never mind.
We are not. I think they tend to be in pockets of possibly more rural counties. I think all but 3 of the Butler County school districts are at the floor. With the valuation increase, I mean, as the valuation goes up, your effective tax rate goes down.
Yeah.
So that voted rate reduces, so you're getting what was voted, unless you're at the floor, and then you get full tax.
So that's House Bill number 187 and Senate Bill 153.
Yes, I'll put those in the email, so
Okay.
you guys have the information. I'll have the email addresses and names for the 2 senators and the 2 House of Representative members.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Anything else?
Good, yeah.
Superintendent's report.
I think it was a busy week last week here at Princeton, but it was very exciting. Ms. Petter mentioned I went to the basketball conference last week, which was really good, my first one, so I didn't know what to expect. We did have a lot of legal updates, and that was the major talking points, and I was going to bring it up as well, is that please hit our legislatures up and let them know, give us some time, because as she said, and they said in the meeting last week, you know, they're rushing through and not seeing what could happen, unforeseen consequences of what they're trying to do. So I think that's really important. And as you know, last week we had homecoming, so that was a great week. It always amazes me, even though I've been here before and I've seen it, the pride that people have here with the homecoming parade, a great turnout. And then, you know, tailgate on Friday, we had several classes here, and many of you were here to see that. And people just having fun and smiling and hugging, and you know, that's what it's all about. That's what being a Viking is all about, and you guys know that from being here. And then the game, and then the dance went well. I stopped by there as well Saturday night to embarrass my daughter, I think, but really wanted to just be there. And you know, it's just great to watch the kids come in, and they're all dressed up. They look so grown and having a good time, and so that was always an exciting thing. Saturday morning, however, before that, we were at the Princeton Athletic Hall of Fame brunch, which went very well. A lot of alumni there. Mr. Roberts and his team did a great job of setting that up, and I thought I liked the brunch format. Food was good.
It was.
The conversations were good, so that went well. And then before I came, last Thursday, the Princeton Young Artist exhibit is at Sharonville Cultural Arts Center, so I was able to stop by there Thursday night. Our kids are so talented, so if you get a chance, please stop by there. I think you can look online. It's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. The times are online through October 21st. So I would encourage the community to stop by and just see the great things our kids do and that our staff has done with the kids. Miss Holliday was there when I was there, one of the art teachers. Miss Kessler happened to be there when I was there as well. And very nice people there at the Cultural Arts Center. My first time there, so that went well. And after I left there, I came back over here for a choir concert, and our kids did a great job up here on stage. That was last Thursday. And then I wanted to also say, please come out and support our kids here. Tomorrow night, the junior high choir concert. Wednesday is the fall orchestra concert. So there's always things going on here at Princeton. And something I want to, we talked about legislatures and talked to our legislatures. So a couple weeks ago, I was up at a new superintendent meeting, and we went over to the State House and got to talk to a few legislators in the State House. The gentleman who's in charge of the education piece as well talked to us a little bit. And that is something that somebody asked me when I interviewed for this job, had I been able to do that. And now I've been able to do it here at the state level, which, and it wasn't in depth. We just got to have some conversations though. But next week, I'll be in Washington, D.C., and I get to go up on Dr. James and I will go up on Capitol Hill on Wednesday morning to talk to legislators. So those are the things I'm really excited about. That'll be a first for me. But to me, I always believe whether you're dealing with kids or adults, you need to build the relationships before you have conversations about what you think and what needs to be done as far as funding or whatever the case may be. So this will give us a chance to have those conversations, build those relationships. So the next time I call somebody and I want something, they'll know who I am. And they'll say, okay, he's an all right guy, I think. Let's listen to what he has to say. So that's our goal for going up on Capitol Hill on Wednesday. Dr. Jameson, Ms. West right now are also presenting on Monday for the league. So I'm excited about that. And as I told them, I'm not going to say much. They're going to give me a little part, but they did the work. The people down there did all the work. They need to shine. It's not about me. It's about them. So I'll go and say a little something, but I want them to be the ones that were out front doing this work the last year, a couple of years, that it was such good work and we've had such growth that they asked us to come speak about what has been done here. So I think that's really exciting. So that's what we have going on.
Anything else? Next is executive, oh,
Can I have a moment?
I'm sorry.
Can I have a moment? I do want to say, we have the Southwest Region's fall conference this Thursday evening at Laurel Oaks. Princeton's going to be the spotlight in all things, from having our students perform. The jazz band will be there to perform, to recognizing our workforce, what is it called? I keep thinking of the initials WEC program here. And again, I just want to make sure that everyone knows that we're having that this Thursday again out at Laurel Oaks. Pretty much a good little drive, Wilmington, Ohio, but I think it's going to be well worth it. Other thing about Great Oaks, though, I do want to also state that a lot of great things going on over at Great Oaks for our students as well. We just had their received from ODE that they also received 5 stars, which is incredible. And saying that, just in case people aren't aware of Great Oaks in terms of who they encompass over there, they have 4 career campuses with 3,236 high school juniors and seniors enrolled as of September 11th of this year. This is a 12% increase over last year's enrollment and an 18% increase in enrollment compared to 2018. So they're continuing to grow, and with that comes the opportunity to bring in more programming. And so they're often looking to the 36 school districts that they serve, Princeton included, to come up with different programs for our students. So, you know, again, they're doing a really good job for the students that choose to go over there. So, and that's it.
Thank you, and I apologize for glossing by.
I just feel obligated that I need to say what we're doing over there since I represent Great Oaks.
And we should know.
And our students are doing some incredible things over there, so I don't want to forget our students.
And I was gonna talk about Thursday night, but I didn't want to steal your thunder.
Oh, and then one other thing I just have to say, go Vikes. I mean, undefeated.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. I mean, okay, I'm just excited about that because again, our kids do so great.
I am
But,
too.
you know, to watch our kids and see the accomplishments, and that's not an easy feat to go, you know, what did you tell me? I said 7 games and I was corrected by Elgin and he said, no, it's 8.
No, we're 8 now, we're not 7 no.
Outstanding.
But yeah, we're all excited about that.
As we
In
should.
my experiences, as a building principal and as a teacher and as a coach here at Princeton and other places, when you have a good start to your season, it just seems like everything feels better. So,
Yes.
it's always been that way and everywhere I've been. So, we're going to Coleraine Friday, hope we can keep it going. That's the plan.
Yeah.
Okay. And we have how many games left?
2 more. We're Coleraine, then
games.
home next, finish up at Sycamore. So,
Love it.
2 regular season games.
Right.
We got to run to make.
Oh, we know we have more
Got a
games
little
than
run to
that,
make in the
but.
playoffs, so.
Oh, okay.
If you're gonna mention the big boys, you have to mention
Oh, yeah, that's
the
right.
middle
Yeah,
school.
I had that on my list
They
too.
just did something
Did we get it?
today.
And I
So,
think they finished the season tonight, is that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
or 7th and 8th grade. The 7th grade, they had a running clock at halftime in Sycamore, so they finished undefeated champs. And then our 8th grade, I rolled over there, it was 6-0. I was there for the last 6 minutes of the second quarter, and when I left, it was 21-0 Vikes. So I feel pretty good
Go
that they're gonna
Vikes.
handle their business and be undefeated as well. So
Yeah.
future's bright, we're rolling now, and the future's bright, so, yes, sir.
I love that. Love it, love it.
Yeah.
Again,
All
go
teams.
Vikes.
That's been a long time.
Yeah.
Been a
I mean,
long time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
have all of our teams undefeated.
We might get another heavy rain to wear.
One for each hand, Gina.
Yeah.
I
why
got 2
not?
more, room for 2 more in my case in my office, so let's go.
Anything else?
I'm sorry, I'm done.
Executive session.
I move to enter into executive session for the purpose of discussion under sections 121.22G1 to consider the employment of a public official and 2 of the Ohio Revised Code.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Mrs. Petter?
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Kessler,
Yes.
Mrs. Wyder,
Yes.
Mr. Simons,
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland.
Yes.
Thank you, motion passes. And there will be no action, Mrs. Petter, there will be no action after? Okay. Thank you.